Om
Yes, it's
Stapakaya cha Dharmasya Sarva Dharmaswarupine Avatara Varishthaya Ramakrishnaya Ste Namaha Janamim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayostitva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namasri Itirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchitsukasvarupaya Swamini Tapahari. So, Master, nothing is impossible for God. Nobody can describe his nature in words. Everything is possible for him. There lived a certain place two yogis who were practicing spiritual discipline. One of them, realizing who he was, one of the yogis said, "You have just come from God himself. What is he doing now?" Narad replied, "Why? I saw him making camels and elephants pass through the eye of a needle." At this yogi said, "Is it any wonder at? Everything is possible for God." The other yogi said, "What? Mocking elephants pass through the eye of a needle? Is it ever possible? You have never been to the Lord's dwelling place." So, Narada, what exactly he saw, we don't know. Maybe he wanted to test these two yogis. What is their belief? Whether they really believe in God, they are supposed to be sadhakas, they are doing sadhana, whether it is really true. It was kind of maybe testing them, otherwise, whether he literally saw, we don't know. But the idea is, nothing is impossible for God. Huh? Anything is possible for him. Arey, kya hua? Why it has come like this?
Sorry, Maharaj, I just changed it for everybody's benefit, but I can change it back.
Huh.
I'll change it
So,
back.
he said, so the idea is, see, making an elephant pass through camel, it's all nothing. Compared, if you believe that, God is really uh, maintaining, running his Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, everything is his. If you believe, it is nothing. Much more difficult and much more impossible things are happening every moment in our life, in the world. Does anyone keep contact? Everyone keep count of all that? So, really, if one is really devoted to God, anything is possible. That's why, in so many people's life, how impossible things have happened just because of the power of their faith, the power of faith in God that can really make impossible things happen. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the master was still sitting in his room. Manmohan arrived from Konnagar with some members of his family. In answer to Sri Ramakrishna's kind inquiries, Manmohan explained that he was taking them to Calcutta. The master said, "Today is the first day of the Bengali month, an inauspicious day for undertaking a journey. I hope everything will be well with you." With a smile, he began to talk of other things. So, Thakur was really very particular about some of the observances of the time. That on a Wednesday afternoon, you should not start a journey. On the first day of Wednesday afternoon, he was very, very particular. In fact, once Holy Mother had come, but hearing that she had started on Wednesday afternoon, all the way she was asked to go back and then start again from Jairambati. Jairambati to Calcutta is a huge, it's like trip from here to UK or US or something like that. I mean, so time consuming. But, partly by train, by bullock cart, by walking, all kinds of render one has to undertake if one wants to reach Calcutta from as interior place as Jairam. But even today, it's not that very, very, now it's more or less okay, but even then. So, but still, mother had to go back. Because, mother always used to say, he never came to break anything. He only came to mend or continue cement, that kind of. So, what you see, what is all that? That see, if you believe, see, most importantly, people might ask, why should I not start this and that? Whatever you do consistently, if you believe, it has nothing. See, there's another, if you take the God's name, you can start anything. Can always like that. It cannot be one of convenience. No, because sometimes convenient for me to do this way, I do it. Other times, not that. Be always consistent and be sincere and true to whatever you believe consistently. That's what's important. And about Narendra and his friends finished bathing in the Ganges. The master said to them earnestly, "Go to the Panchavati and meditate there under the banyan tree. Shall I give you something to sit on?" At 10:30, Narendra and his Brahma friends were meditating in the Panchavati. Afterwards, Ramakrishna came to them. M too was present. The master said to the Brahmo devotees, "In meditation, one must be absorbed in God. By merely floating on the surface of the water, can you reach the gems lying at the bottom of the sea?" So, particularly, he was probably addressing the Brahmo devotees, because they had a very formal way of conducting worship and so on. So, Ramkrishna himself attended one or two of them, where they would sit, somebody would take their position on the pulpit and then address in a particular way. It's very formal, and then there was of course, you never used to give much time that way. So, where is the question of so really going deep? So, Thakur was very particular. One has to go deep, otherwise, nothing is possible. One can't really uh, access the gems which are lying at the bottom. That means deep within the inner recesses of one's own personality, the hidden truths, the true personality, if it is to be touched or accessed, one has to dive deep. Then there's very famous song, uh, डूब दे रे मोन kali भोले, हृदय रत्नाकर आगाध जले. Then there are very precious gems lie hid, but never believe the better the ocean bare of gems. If in the first few dives you fail, with firm resolve and self-control, dive deep and make your way to Mother Kali's realms. So, initially, when that in spiritual life, one should have oceans of patience. After a few days, someone will say, "No, I'm not getting anything." When he used to come and tell Raja Maharaj and others also, Maharaj used to be very extremely annoyed and would scold them also, if they say like that. One has to, first of all, many of us are, no, we are not really doing that type of intense sadhana. Obviously, we are not getting anything. So even if you do intense, he says that one has to be, have a tremendous resolve and self-control. And one has to dive deep and make your way to Mother Kali's realm. So initially, if one or two dives, you may not, but don't think that that's it. Persist, and you really access extraordinary gems. So that's what it's saying. Down in the ocean depths of heavenly wisdom lie the wondrous pearls, wondrous pearls of peace, O mind, and yourself can gather them. If you but have pure love and follow the scriptures' rule within those ocean depths as well, 6 alligators lurk, lust, anger, and the rest, swimming about in search of prey. Smear yourself with the turmeric of discrimination. The very smell of it will shield you from their jaws. Huh? Within those ocean depths as well, 6 alligators lurk. See, I think all these are very, very deep and extraordinary meaning in a spiritual sense. They say when you are, see, many people, apparently they seem to be okay, they seem to be happy, they seem to be leading relatively okay life and all that. That's because no, they have never made a very serious attempt, or they have never attempted to dive deep. They say when you really do intense sadhana, this in the initial stages, all that is hidden, all that is stored up, or samskaras, all that come to the surface, whatever we have done in this life or past life and all that. So initially, it's really very threatening. They say great sadhus have said like that. But if you persist, then everything would go away. But initially, it can be, what can really go astray if one is not careful. That's why he says, smear yourself with the turmeric of discrimination, Viveka. Viveka is the only prescription, only remedy. We have that. If you are able to discriminate, then you can really slowly steer clear and all those things will go away, and then you can really enjoy that depths of meditation or inner seeking. Salutations, God. This is the way sadhus greet one another. Om Namo Narayana. I think there's some I think an earlier reference. So, upon the ocean bed lies strewn unnumbered pearls and precious gems. Plunge in, says Ramprasad, and gather up handfuls there. When if you persist and if you are a sadhaka like that, then you will really uh, find that there are this huge, large number of pearls, etc., strewn there in the ocean bed, and gather handfuls. Narendra and his friends came down from the seats on the raised platform of the Panchavati and stood near the master. He returned to his room with them. The master continued, when you plunge in the water of the ocean, you may be attacked by alligators, but they won't touch you if your body is smeared with turmeric. There are no doubt 6 alligators, lust, anger, avarice, and so on within you in the heart's fathomless depth. But protect yourself with the turmeric of discrimination and renunciation, and they won't touch you. So that's what Thakur also clearly says. It's all there. No, where are they? Our passions, our problems, our anger, our karma, krodha, lobha, everything. They are not external. They are within us only. They are part of our personality, our nature. They are not external to us. So they are all there inside. So people give expression to all that in a very normal way. That is one thing. But if you're a sadhaka, you want to pursue a path of, trying to realize God or realize your true self and so on. So obviously, for such a person too, when such disturbances come, it can be very extremely disturbing and people quite lose their way also sometimes. But Prabhupada clearly says, Viveka and Vairagya, discrimination and renunciation. Protect yourself with these and they won't touch you. If one is established in these two, all those, whatever they arise, you kind of become a witness, like watch them just come and go, just like the peptide and fruitide, they come and go. You are just a observer, witness, just allowing them to rise and just subside and go away by themselves. You don't react or you don't go and participate. You do not yield to those temptations or those indications and so on. What can you achieve by mere lecturing and scholarship without discrimination and dispassion? God alone is real and all else is unreal. God alone is substance. All else is non-entity. This is discrimination. So Thakur is saying in a very, very brief way, what exactly is the meaning of this Viveka? What is Viveka? Viveka, what are you to really discriminate about? What is the essence? The essence of Viveka discrimination is to know that God alone is real and everything else is unreal. So, you can also say that in the sense, perishable. All else is unreal means they are for a very brief period. They have no deep ability to sustain or subsist. They go away after some time. They are impermanent. They are not eternal in that sense. So, but then the highest truth or God or self or whatever you might call it, that is always there, that is present. So know that one truth, strive for that, have that as your goal, keep everything else aside. That he says is the real idea of discrimination. God alone is substance and all else is non-entity. See, slowly, he's also giving, first he says is unreal and non, everything is unreal, God alone is real. Then he also further kind of gives an explanation. God alone is a substance and all else is absolutely, non-entity. Nothing is, they are all not worth considering at all. Why? Their their life span, their existence is of such a short duration, such an impermanent nature. Any time, moment to moment, they go away, vanish. Richest millionaire today, tomorrow nothing, beggar. So much of we pride so much on our beauty and our health and possessions, all gone in no time. So all these have happened again and again all over the world to many. So the idea is to see all that, keeping our eyes wide open, ears open, then you understand what is it. Because what Akul says is, justly is all taken from what is observed in life, It's all based on his own observation that way. Says, first of all, set up God in the shrine of your heart and then deliver lectures as much as you like. How will the mere repetition of Brahma profit you? We're not imbued with discrimination and dispassion. It's the empty sound of a conch shell. Very beautiful. Again, Mara Thakur will give a very beautiful example also. He says, no point in lecturing and all that. What will you lecture? Have you really got it? Have you established God in the shrine of your heart? Are you, at least, one has to be an extraordinarily serious sadhaka. I mean, how do you talk all that if you yourself don't follow any of those things? When Thakur says God alone is real, everything is unreal or everything is impermanent, not worth considering. They're all to be just, uh, mm, kind of not considered at all. They have no substance, they are non-entity. So many things. So unless you have some idea of all these, unless you have really given time, unless you have been a great sadhaka, unless you have been very sincere, absolutely, it won't make any sense at all. It says, if God is there in your heart, then lecture as much as you. In fact, Thakur knows that once you are in that, you will never be in a mood to lecture at all. The more you advance in spiritual life, the less and less will be your tendency to go and talk and lecture and so on. So one thing Thakur also, see, Thakur never went and gave any lecture or anything. He used to share great spiritual truths with a small group of people who used to come to him with all sincerity and earnestness. He never used to go and seek attendance or audience or opportunities or this or that. So more and more, very very famous saying in Tamil. It's a very very beautiful idea. But how a person of the highest realization, how he completely becomes silent. There is such a temple in Tamil Nadu. They used to, keep accounts of how the prasad was distributed. They used to, make a small packet like, we used to call it as sotupatte. Sotupatte means a small packet of food. சும்மா இருந்த சாமியாருக்கு சொத்துப்பட்டு ரெண்டு. Every day they used to keep accounts. 2 food packets for the sadhu who was silent. He was a bony. So they used to keep, they would write. Meaning, if you really got it, absolutely, you won't be in a mood to talk at all. Thakur also, with great difficulty, he had to come down to at a little lower level so that he could be able to, he could talk to people, advise them, share with them. So that's why he literally prayed to Mother, don't make me a dry jnani, Mother. Let me, Rashe Voshe Taksicha, I want to be in that Rasa Bhava, to enjoy the company of devotees. That was definitely coming down. It's all possible only when you come down. That's why Purna Jnani means absolutely is where is the question of lecture or this or that? The impermanence or the absolute unreality of the world will be so palpable for such a person. He would never ever be tempted to talk or just even look at anything. That is the condition of such people. So you remember, when Sadhu came to Dakshineshwar, absolutely he had no clothes. The boys were throwing stones at him. Blood was oozing from his legs and this and that. And then simply he went and in the regular people that Mandar, they refused to give him food. He went and sat amongst the dogs who were eating from the leftover of people who had taken food and thrown their leaves. He pushed aside some of the dogs. They also didn't resist him or bark anything. He took a little food from there and then picked up 2 handfuls of water from one of the nalas or the drains. And then when he went inside and chanted as if the whole ceiling of the temple would come down. So powerful was his voice, so tremendous voice he had, he was chanting. Then Satyagraha Thakur said, see, here's a Purna Gyani. Absolutely. See, others he won't even talk, but with Thakur he talked beautifully. And then, Aladari, somebody tried to follow him sometime and said, please advise. And then he said, when you feel that the water of the Ganges and the water of that Nala, that Nardhama, that drain, if you feel them to be the same, then know that you have realized the truth or you are a Jnani. Then when Varadari further tried, he threw stones and showed him away and just disappeared. I mean, what does he mean? It literally happened to Thakur's time. See, one is really so advanced in spiritual life. Absolutely no question of body consciousness. We can't even think, let alone eat. Can't even think of sitting and eating the beggars, whatever left over along with dog, taking water from. Probably very soon he would die of some cancer or some other serious illness. But he had absolutely no need or no use for the body because it had fulfilled its purpose, the purpose of coming to earth and realizing the highest truth. All that had been achieved. So absolutely he had no, because when you're absolutely bereft of idea of body, when you have no body consciousness at all, something has to be filled somewhere, once in a way, that's all. They won't wait for the time or occasion, or it's not that every 6 hours, every 4 hours, every 3 hours you have to take food, nothing like that. Anything, yadricha, alabha, santushta, whatever comes by chance, anything is available, taken, otherwise not, doesn't care. So, that's what Thakur says, if unless you establish God in the shrine of your heart, then you can deliver lectures. There's no question. Nobody will deliver lectures. Thakur says, deliver as much as you like. Such people will not deliver. They will hardly speak. Even if they speak, they will speak to very small congregations who are very serious, who are sincere. See, most of the places, no, neither the Bhakta nor the Srota, both are interested in spiritual life. Someone, whatever here and there we have read or heard, we have to go and vomit somewhere, and then people are, they will listen, they will equally disinterested, and the moment it's all over, they will go back to some other way of life or their old way of life. So, such people are, they rarely speak because, they know it's absolutely meaningless, Vak Vaikari, Shabdhajari, and all that comes in Exudamani. What is the use of all that? So then he says, he gives a very beautiful example. There lived in a village a young man named Padmalochan. People used to call him Pado for short. In this village, there was a temple in a very dilapidated condition. It contained no image of God. Ashwatha and other plants sprang up on the ruins of its walls. Bats lived inside, and the floor was covered with the dust and the droppings of the bats. The people of the village had stopped visiting the temple. So then an old abandoned temple, nothing was happening. No one used to go there because long ago all the festivals etc. had stopped. There was no image, no worship was happening. So one day after dusk, the villagers heard the sound of conch shell from the direction of the temple. From that side, they suddenly heard somebody is blowing shankha, conch. And then they thought perhaps someone had installed an image and was performing the evening worship. And they thought, oh, it's one thing, it was an abandoned temple. Now somebody has installed the image and probably some worship is happening. And one of them softly opened the door and saw Padalochan standing in a corner blowing the conch. Simply he was blowing the conch. There was no image, nothing, no cleaning. The temple hadn't been swept or washed, no image had been set up, and filth and dirt lay everywhere. Then he shouted to Pado, "You have set up no image here within the shrine, O fool. Blowing the conch, you simply make confusion worse confounded. Day and night, 11 bats scream there incessantly. There's no use in merely making a noise if you want to establish the deity in the shrine of your heart, if you want to realize God. So, he says that person is scolding him without establishing any image or anything. There are bats, like, the 11, the indriyas in the mind. So, they are like 11 bats. So, what are you doing there? They are screaming there incessantly. You're constantly being tormented by your own senses, your sense desire oriented life, or your whatever you may call it. In such a condition, simply. So, it's really literally to tell people who are trying to give upadesha, give lectures, etc., to others without themselves doing any sadhana or anything. That's what he says. No point. Why do you do all that? What is the point of your making noise and trying to be a big lecturer or a preacher or anything? Have you really enshrined God in your heart? Where is the mandate? Who is going to listen to you? You are yourself so much tormented by all the desires and the indriyas and all that. You are fully in the grip of the repose. What the fun? So, like that, Padmalochan, like he says, no use. There's no use in merely making a noise. If you want to establish the deity in the shrine of our heart, if you want to realize God, first of all, purify the mind. In the pure heart, God takes his seat. One cannot bring the holy image into the temple. The droppings of bats are all around. See, the 11, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and the mind. So, he says, if you're in this way, if you're completely in the grip of the senses and so on and desires, how can you establish God in your heart? In fact, no, Thakur says to one devotee, see, I really want to go and sit in your heart, but if it is so full of dirt, how can I go there? Purify your heart. Unless you do sadhana, purify your heart. You cannot invite God. Can you? Wait, let alone God. If your house is full of, the droppings of bats and litter and this and that, can you invite guests, let alone God? How it is possible? So the same way he says, if a temple is like that, you cannot install an image in such a temple where there is so much of dirt and filth and so on. That will absolutely, there is no meaning in trying to install God or image in such a temple. First of all, you have to clean the premises, sweep everything, clean everything, purify your heart. Then it is possible to invite him. Then you can pray deeply. The 11 bats are our 11 organs, 5 action, 5 perception, and the mind. So they are holding sway completely. We are always under the grip. So what can you do? First of all, invoke the deity. Then give lectures to your heart's content. First of all, dive deep. Plunge to the bottom and gather up the gems. Because in Brahma Samaj, all and sundry, by turns they used to take charge in the pulpit and conduct sessions and give lectures and this and that. Thakur saw that. He once and saw that they're all closing their eyes as if it's like monkeys. They're just closing and waiting for an opportunity to steal something. Cats or monkeys, something Thakur said about their meditation. Can't meditate. Can you just by a ritual? Yes, now close, meditate, it's over. Then something, does meditation happen like that? So he attended once or so their the weekly classes or sermons, what they used to do. And Thakur was deeply, kind of felt that what they are doing. That's why it says, dive deep. Then you may do other things. But nobody wants to plunge. People are without spiritual discipline and prayer, without renunciation and dispassion, Viveka and Vairagya. They learn a few words and immediately start to deliver lectures. Hmm. It is difficult to teach others. Only if a man gets a command from God after realizing him, uh, uh, he is entitled to teach. So, Thakur was very clear. Uh, so, unless one is like that, one is fully established, unless one is very sincere, very honest, unless one is a serious sadhaka, there's the minimum, just the barest minimum. Then, of course, sometimes, just to, as fellow travelers, one can share with others if it's a sincere group, committed group, but never with the assumption that I'm trying to teach or I'm trying to lecture, that I know more than the others. All those things really make no sense. So, Thakur is very clear. Unless one has Viveka and Vairagya, unless one is established, so in such a person, gets a command from God. Because if you have established God in your heart, if you are like that, then it's definitely you will be you will feel that from within that God has given you that mandate. So there, they don't do so much in a sense of lecture. They're not that way. They wish to share. For example, Thakur had so much to share. So once in a way, when people come, you tell them if they are very sincere, very earnest, what happens in spiritual life, how one should practice, how one can overcome obstacles, difficulties in the path of spirituality and all that. Or from his own personal experience, how he had struggled so hard, how he had put in so much effort to realize what he did. So in a small way, just to encourage them, to those who are sincere, to help them, to guide them, he used to talk. So that's why he was very, very clear. You can continue next time. So now I'll leave a few minutes for question and answers. I'm actually in Vijayawada today. I'd come for a function. Morning I had to do puja and homa and all that. And again, there's some teachers' convention or something useless in the after some time, after 5 o'clock or so. So in between, I thought this is much more worthy doing than all that lecture and all that. That somehow, if they call you, they will give you some slot you have to speak. But this is our uh, small group where we share this Kathamrita. We read together and try to understand.
So
Yes.
thank you, Maharaj. We are really grateful.
Uh,
I have one question. Others, I will invite you also to ask a question. And this may be a very common question, like Viveka and Vairagya. So with Viveka, we learn to differentiate between what is eternal, what is transient. Now, me as a actor in this world, where I am probably a spouse, parent, employee, a son, and I want to do my job 100%. Now, how do I apply Viveka or such discrimination thoughts over here by knowing that all these are transient? None of these are eternal. So what will be the
You see, the point is, these are all any person with a little discernment, anyone even at the school level, if you argue, can clearly understand all these are all transient. We see millionaires becoming paupers overnight. We see
right?
people of extraordinary health and this and that dying overnight, and then within minutes they came and sat and died. How many instances we have heard? So what is permanent in this world? Everything we cherish, we possess, we strive, we struggle, we fight, we do everything, we go to wars, everything perishes. So they're all absolutely, it can happen anytime. The only thing is, we constantly, that's what, no, Dharmaputra in the Yaksha Prashna, he said, what is the greatest wonder? Dharmaputra answered that we people see dying every day in front of us, but yet we think that we will live for eternity. So we think we hear of these terrible incidents, tragedies every day, every other day, but we think that it will never happen to us. See, it doesn't mean that we should invite tragedies. But if you are aware of that, then we know, yes, there are so many ways in which, in which one can see the very beautiful story of the Rame Richa, the will of Rama in Kathamrita, that way. Whatever we do, yes, we have to do, we have to run an industry, we have to run a family. But then, yes, this is all there. Some circumstances have brought all this together. This is where we are. Supposing there is some awareness, some inner awakening, some sincerity, some feeling that, yes, I have a long way to go. I have so much to do in this life. Why have I come? What am I doing? What is happening in my life? So when we try to go deeper, when we become serious in spiritual life, all these things come up more and more, there will be problems. But then with age, as we grow, we should learn. See how much of it, if we analyze our own life, the way we function every day, much of what we do is we could have as well done without doing. At the end of the day, if you sit and analyze, was it necessary all that we did? So what discrimination means, really, even before plunging into action, trying to keep away what is not necessary, to do only that much. See, there are people in the family, for every little thing they fight. Every little thing there should be a concern. Every little thing is to be agreed. Every little thing is to, all right, no, please don't come to me. Don't come to me. I'm not interested. Can we reduce like that? We can. We don't want, it's possible. Whether it is ashrama or a house or anywhere, there are people even in the ashrama. Every little thing, one brick, if you have to remove, you have to take permission. Why? The other person can equally do it. Why is there? Why you have to be at the forefront of everything? You are a monk or any fool, whatever it is. What is there? So that way, if you really analyze our life, see, we are not asking about that kind of a highest type of thing where you really throw away everything and go completely. That is highest. But one can begin the journey. When we start reducing our involvement, our engagements, much of it is absolutely unnecessary, you find that we have more time for sadhana. So when you have more time for sadhana, if you invest it more and more we feel disinterested towards the world. And more the world will start also receding from you. It's not that we have to violently cut off or dissect and operate and throw away and all that. No. What little you do, the more you do, the more you will be attracted towards sadhana, more the world will move away from you. You will not feel like participating at all. So at one point of time, it's possible. One can be completely devoted to sadhana also. One may live in the house, so what? So it's possible. It's not that much of what we are talking about. They are all assumed responsibilities, assumed fears, assumed misgivings, because we have never attempted to do that kind of intense or serious sadhana.
Okay, I understand. Very well explained, Maharaj. I know it's up to us to
Yes,
detach ourselves psychologically from all these
yes.
attacks.
One should make a beginning somewhere, then it is possible.
Thank you. Anybody has any other questions? Doesn't seem to
Yeah.
be having a lot of questions.
Everybody there may be thinking, maybe next week again we'll take up when we continue. After all, it's a continuous journey. Can again revisit next time also. We can think of all that. Huh?